All right, all right, all right. Welcome to this episode of Warrior Week Parables from the Pit, episode number 16. Sit back, relax, and enjoy this podcast. All right, we are back. My guest this week is Sam Nader, graduate of Warrior Week 40. Welcome, my friend.
Thank you, Coach. Love to be here.
All right, you traveled quite from a land of snow, and you are here after several hours, and you're traveling back tonight, red eye.
Yes, you got me across the country for an afternoon. That's
so
impressive.
Thank you for being here.
My pleasure.
And committed to your story, your message, and what what brought you here from the first place. So we're going to talk about that, right? So Sam, just talk about a little bit about your life pre-Warrior Week. Who was Sam? And then just we'll stop there, and then I'll ask you a question. Then what happened when you saw the message of Warrior, right? So why don't you just give us a background, who Sam was, and basically where Sam started saying, oh, I think I just found a new way.
Yeah. So who I was before I came into Warrior was a broken man. I have a lot of history behind it. I was a pretty good athlete, a very good athlete, high school, college wrestler, very successful in the sport. I was in the construction industry for a few years. Mm-hmm. Got out of that. Then I did full-time ministry work for 5 years.
5 years.
I was a pastor for a few of those years. Then I got back into my career and started a successful consulting business in the commercial construction industry. And did that business for about 8 years, built that, co-founded it, built it, ran the business, grew it pretty substantially, made a lot of money. And in 2015, my partnership kind of blew up, and I had a hard reboot on my life, and things began to change dramatically, and I started to experience a level of darkness in my life that I had never experienced or never been aware of to that point. So that was kind of the backdrop of me beginning to search for a different way in my life.
That was right around 2015 when the search began?
The search began in 2015 and continued probably for about a year and a half before I found Warrior.
Okay, so you obviously seen some other stuff, motivational videos, conversations. My guess is time to time some of that shit would stick, would make sense, but then like smoke, they would vanish away. Nothing would stay with you so you can actually do something with it for you. Does that make sense?
It does. I think what I experienced were a number of... I'm a spiritual man, so I've experienced divine, spiritual, godly things throughout my life, and that's been deposited into me, and that's been part of my experience. But what I never had was the tools and framework for how to truly live my life across all the areas of my life. And that, not having that was like a chasm for me. Like I could see, even in my darkest times, even in the worst times of my life, I could see who I was called to be and to become, but I felt so powerless to get there. It was like this huge fucking chasm between me and that man that I knew I was called to be, and I didn't know how to get there. I did not know the way to get there.
Got it. Beautiful. So then you come across this crazy video, right? And next thing you know, you're part of a remote online training, and there are conversations that are taking place. Part of you is like, what the fuck? The other part of you is telling you, okay, something is happening here. Talk to me about that experience, man.
Yeah. So I came in to Warrior through Warrior Book 700, and that was preceded by having seen a video that Garrett did maybe 8 months before, and then getting to a very, very dark place in my life, particularly in my marriage, which drove me to finally press the button. And I pressed the button to get into Warrior Book 600, but it was already sold out by that point. So I waited, and I was on that waiting list. And as soon as I saw the email, like 700 is a go, it's live. Like I think I was like the first fucking guy in there.
Yeah.
I pushed the button, and I got in. And you know, coming into it was like walking into pure fucking chaos. I mean, the way that 700, and I think it was set up that way, you know, purposefully set up that way, but the way that it was set up, that you come into a group of 120 other men, you don't know what's going on, you don't know up from down, and then we get on a webinar with you, and out of the gates, like, you are bringing, like, the fire is coming at us, the fire and the fire hose, like, all at the same time. And I'm like, what the fuck is this? Who is this guy? Who is this guy? And what is he doing to me right now?
Yeah. I remember, I think I brought you live on the camera, and I remember particularly your face, kind of like a folded paper, like just like, okay, what's next?
Yeah.
Where am I?
Right.
Where am
what's
I?
Up, what's down? Exactly.
And so you come in. We begin the experience of going to places where you haven't seen anyone actually go.
Right.
Like going and knocking at the door of conversations about marriage and fatherhood.
Yeah.
That no one else kind of does, right? Going to places about body and seeking power inside a body. Like one of the conversations was, okay, bro, like, what are you doing for your body? I'm doing this and this. Okay, well, what are you training for?
Yeah.
Like, what are you seeking? What is the power? And what, more importantly, once you get it, what the fuck are you doing with this power that you gain inside of your body for your family?
Yeah.
A lot of guys will say, yeah, man, you know, I work out CrossFit, I go this, I do that. I'm doing great. What do you do from the power that you gain from that? Do you bring back into production in your business? Yeah. Do you bring that back into the production of your marriage? Oh, yeah, I do that. Okay, how? Yeah. How do you do that? Well, you know, I'm a good dad. Okay, that's pretty fucking generic. Give me, I act like a 7-year-old, right? I'm the 7-year-old guy. Yeah. You give me specifics, and I believe you. You give me generics, you're a goddamn fucking liar in my book.
Yeah.
But I give you the chance, and I train you to break down your generalities to specific shit. Like this morning, the shit show that happened. Go to the DMV. I want to get my motorcycle permit, which is linked to my driver's license permit right now because I just renewed my driver's license, and the lady put driver's license for car and as well as motorcycle. I passed the theory test. I had to do the manual test, and so, like, we're not going to ship you a fucking driver's license until you pass this test. I'm like, fuck it. I don't want the motorcycle. She said, well, you went through all this shit for nothing. I'm like, you're right. Okay, schedule. I go in. It's a moped. It's not a motorcycle. So it's an M1. It's a moped. Let me be very, very clear on that. It's a moped. Yeah. I bought the goddamn moped to ride with my son because he loves that, right? So we go around the neighborhood. It has insurance. It has plates. We go inside, and so... But I half-ass it, right? So I don't practice. I don't do anything. I'm like, the test is going to be fine. And I failed the test because I didn't even listen to the instruction that the lady gave me.
Right.
Because I already had the fucking answer, which is, it's a moped. I got this. I'm 41-year-old. I'm not going to fucking fail a moped test. I'm the alpha. I'm the motherfucker here, right? And then when I finished that, as I'm reflecting inside of a tool that we have, Stack, I'm reflecting on the fact that, well, I'm saying, fuck, this DMV bitch, she failed me, right? That's my first judgment that I would pass. Mm-hmm. Then I look at it and say, okay, well, I kind of failed myself. I kind of passed the theory test by luck.
Yeah.
And I didn't fucking prepare. And I didn't listen to the fucking instruction. And I'm pretending to be some guy that deserves to get the fucking permit. Really, what I should want is the process of becoming licensed. I should want that process versus the license itself. Because there's probably a meaning for me in getting that license. There is probably a reason why I'm wasting 3 hours of my time at DMV to get a fucking moped license. Mm-hmm. And maybe the reason is simple. Maybe the reason is like my son loves so much this little moped that I can take him daily, not just to the pool above my house, which is like half a mile, but I can actually take him to the ice cream shop on the bike, right? And oh shit, now it changes his experience. I can't really do that because if I don't have a permit, I can't be on the streets. And if I do that, it's a big ass risk.
Right.
So I don't go to the ice cream shop. Well, all this clarity is coming to me based on what? Based on the fact that I allow myself to be specific about my action, and most of the time reject the first stories that comes in my fucking head, which is that goddamn fucking DMV bitch. She needs to be more fucking human. She was like a fucking robot. She needs to be more human. She needs to understand my needs. And she should have given me a second chance. Yeah. Like, that's the expectation. And most of my life, I operated under this. I operated under this rule of entitlement. And if I don't get it, well, fuck you. It's because you're not human. And I would use some kind of a fucking humanitarian, divine scripture to justify it. So, like, I'm sharing this with you because I want to hear on your side, like, you and I are on the same age. And so, did you ever feel this way?
Yeah, absolutely. All my life. You helped me break a huge fucking story. So after my athletic career, I was pretty banged up. I was good. I was a 2-time All-American, Division I, college, wrestling. That's pretty good. But my body was beat up. My knees, my back. And I told myself the story. I was so beat up, I told myself the story, I'm done. I'm not going to do anything for my body. I did not elevate my heart rate for 7 years after I stepped off the wrestling mat, my last match. 7 fucking years, I did not do anything to elevate my heart rate. And for 19 years, I did very little physically. So I was like 50 pounds overweight. I was in, so I came into Warrior, and one of the first things you talked about was taking these stories, these things we tell ourselves that put us, put someone else off on the hook, take us off the hook, make us the fucking victim. And the story was, I'm too banged up to become fit again. And you taught us the fuck you strategy.
Yeah, I remember that.
And I did that with the story, and I told that story, fuck you. I'm not too banged up. I'm going to become fit again. And the thing I started to experience right away was I started to get power in my body.
This ability to reframe the original story, right? Sometimes the original story could be just like a DMV, right? Just it comes in and it's just a day. Like today I'll talk about fucking DMD all day, that bitch, that bitch, that bitch. And then it goes away tomorrow, right? But that story dominated my thoughts that day and my actions.
Yep.
But sometimes the stories fucking stay with you for 19 goddamn years. And 19 years, and it could be anywhere. It could be in marriage. In this case, it was in your body. But, like, it just sticks. Like, you believe that fucking story for 19 years. What do you think it is? What do you think we hold on to those stories? What is it that is, what are those stories serving us that we stay with it? It's got to be a nice, comfortable, cozy place, man.
It was for 19 years until I couldn't play with my fucking kids.
Fuck that.
Like, I was literally, I did not have the energy to play with my kids when they wanted to play.
By the way, I want to make it very clear for the audience that when Sam says he was 50 pounds heavier, we're not talking about some fat fuck that's not able to fucking move. Like, let's make that fucking clear. We're talking about a big guy, right? We're talking about a big guy, what you see right now on the camera if you're watching us, with just more mass on him. Like, you're looking at it like a scary big guy. You're not looking at a guy. And this scary big guy, this alpha in the society, whom everybody looks at, I'm like, shit, man, this guy's pretty solid.
Yeah.
Right? Fuck, hey, are you in WWE wrestling, or are you a buncer? Like, this guy, this power projected on the outside doesn't feel powerful from the inside because you can't even play with your fucking kids.
Weak. Yep. Yeah, that's the power of the story. Take a powerful man, put a fucking story on him, his own story that he believes, And all of a sudden, a powerful man is a weakling.
Weakling. I'm going to tell you a story, man, because I feel that I should tell this fucking story. Next week, we have Warrior Week. And one of the men that is supposed to come to this Warrior Week, I was on the bike, the same fucking bike, waiting for my moped. Let's just make that very clear since we don't fucking lie. I was on the fucking moped. It's a 150. It goes 60 miles max. I'm just trying to it looks pretty manly, all right? Okay. It's a moped. So I'm on the fucking moped. Yep. I received this call. He says, hey, I can't come. Coach Sam, I can't come to Warrior Week because my doctor notes. I'm like, okay. What are you talking about? Well, you know, that accident that I had, so my back, doctor says I can't do anything. I go, what's the problem with your back? He goes, my lower back, a little bit of tendons, this and that. I'm like, okay, so you're not going to fucking die. You're coming. I hanged up. And then I thought about your story. When you called me the day before Warrior Week and you say, Coach Sam, I don't think I can come, man, to Warrior Week. And I paused for a second. I said, and I knew you were coming today for the podcast, so this is all happening at the same time. And that's why I decided to share this with you and we're going to build upon this. And then so I paused and I said, when I had a conversation with Sam about his back, it was a sincere conversation. Like you were coming from a place of truth, the truth that you knew, which was that story, right? Here are the facts. My back got hurt.
Right.
Your stories created a version of the truth for you that you actually believed. So you're not coming from a bad place. You're not coming from a malicious place or an intentional lie.
Right.
You're simply coming in with the fabrication of the truth from your story. So I said, okay, this is a story for Sam. I believe your genuine waves, right? Or energy or whatever that was over the phone. I said, this is a story for Sam. And so you and I had a conversation, and it was a decent conversation. It wasn't, hey, fuck off, you coming.
Right.
It was a decent conversation. And inside of that, you kind of what did you find inside of that? Because you came to Warrior Week. So what did you find inside of that conversation? Because I want to come back to the story of this other guy.
You just opened a big one, Coach. So it was actually about 8 days or 10 days before Warrior Week. And I've had a bad back since my sophomore year of college. I heard it after wrestling practice. I was squatting. I got out of position, semi-herniated a disc, and it limited me in my wrestling career after that. But to keep this story somewhat short, I've never had a major problem with my back. I always kind of stretched. If I would lift something funny, it would get tweaked. I would take a leave. I'd be fine the next day, usually a couple days at max. Well, this time before Warrior Week, I was fucking debilitated. I called you before it actually got to its worst, but within a day of me calling you, I was having back problems. It was getting worse and worse to the point where literally the Friday before, 10 days before Warrior Week started on a Tuesday, right? It was 10 days before on a Friday. I was lying on my floor. I could not sleep on my bed. I was lying on a mat on the floor next to my bed, and I could not get up. Like, I literally could not move. I was in that much pain, and that has never happened to me before in my life. So when I called you, I was sincerely like, Coach, I don't know what the fuck is going on here. Like, I have never experienced anything like this before. I do not literally think I can physically make it through Warrior Week.
Yes.
And you just said, Sam, Warrior Week is not a physical event. It is a spiritual event. It's an emotional event, and you need to be there. And I said, okay. I trusted the fucking process.
It's crazy. Most of your life, you've been operating based on these divine downloads.
Yeah.
Anywhere, anything that you've done, and that's what you said at the beginning of the show. And then what made you crack your own story, it was simply, oh shit, this is another divine invitation.
So, Coach, okay, so I'm going to elaborate on this because you opened this up. So what I had I'm going to call it a vision, a couple days before our conversation and a couple days before I was lying on the floor on my face. And it was, I realized that my back was the access point to my power as a wrestler. So in wrestling, all of the power comes from your legs and your hips.
Okay.
And you have to be able, the best wrestlers are able to deliver the power from their legs and their hips to the rest of their body, to their upper body. And my back was kind of an issue at that point. It wasn't that bad, but I was just kind of meditating, or I had done a stack or something, and I just had this little vision like my back is my hinge point. It's the hinge to my power. It's the hinge that delivers the power from my legs to the rest of my body. Fast forward, our conversation happens. A day or two later, I'm laying on my face, unable to move. Like literally, I was panicking. I was panicking because I felt trapped in my body. I don't know if you've ever felt this way.
Yes, I did.
Okay. I never felt that way. And I was literally starting to panic. Like I was losing my fucking mind. Okay. Yeah. So I decided at that point to just calm myself and allow myself to go into the darkness. It's the first time I ever did that. Like I literally said, okay, instead of trying to escape the darkness that's overcoming me, I'm going to go into it.
Yeah.
And when I went into it, very soon after going into it, I heard the voice in my heart, and the voice said, your wife is your back. Your wife is your hinge point. My wife was sitting on the bed, 15 feet away from me. And the darkness that was surrounding me for those years, the couple years leading up to me finding Warrior, was all in my marriage. It was all in my marriage. It was very dark. It was very dark. It was I had been so damaging to my wife. I had been so critical, so rage-filled, so destructive in our marriage. And I didn't even realize most of how destructive it had been. And so when I was lying there on the floor and I realized my back was my wife, like literally God was trying to speak to me, and the only way he could speak to me was through my physical body at that moment. And he shut me down so I could have an awakening.
Wow. So at that time, of course, you tell me this, and I tell you, like, we have a dialogue, and the dialogue is for you to come back around the circles of what happened and what story you're making around it, and what is the purpose of these conversation anyway? Why the fuck are you even coming to Warrior Week, right? And once you actually got clarity on the purpose, nothing stood between you. And you come, and we'll talk about that in a second. But I want to go back to the story of the guy that texted me with the same message on you, Sam. He didn't text me, sorry. He called me. I'll pick it up on the morning. Same message as you. I can't come. Doctor's note. Like, so, first of all, you didn't bring any doctor into the mix.
Fucking doctor's note.
So, like, I hanged up on him because I was impatient. I was waiting for a fucking lady to give me the thing. And at the same time, and then I'm standing there because I told him, no, you're fuck off, you're coming, and there's nothing to it. I'm standing and I'm saying, dude, I'm not shutting any story. This is not a story. Like, literally, this is not a story. And this is not the truth. It's not the truth, and it's not a story. Which means it's a fucking lie. And I'm going to call the guy. Okay, what's going on? Give me a little bit more detail. So he tells me, if I come to Warrior Week, my insurance, here's the thing. If I come to insurance, my insurance is if my insurance find out that I came to Warrior Week, they're going to call my health insurance. And I go, okay. Yeah. Okay. Now I know why you send the fucking video on day one. Day one, he sends a video. This is 21 days ago in the process of preparation. He sends a video. He says, I just had a car accident. He's like literally filming himself. I just had a car accident. And I'm in an ambulance. He's in a real ambulance. But I will not quit. I'm not a quitter. I will do my fucking assignment. I'm like, okay. I take the video, I share it with all the guys. So this is pretty fucking impressive. This is 21 days ago. In the process of this, he doesn't play the game all in the past 20 days. He plays it, but not all in. Some stories robbing him from telling him the truth is robbing power. So comes to 1 day before the event or 2 days before the event, he sends a message like this. And so this is simple, is that throughout this is a positioned lie. And he's going to listen to this podcast, and I don't give a fuck. This is a positioned lie. You position the lie so you can get out of it. Now, in the midst of all this, maybe he didn't position it then on purpose. Maybe the accident fucking took place, but maybe he took advantage of the incident, and maybe he's collecting money from the insurance. Maybe there is something that is not truthful in this process, because if you didn't quit, there's no reason for you to fucking quit, and you would have come to me differently. You would have say, I have some serious concern, this and this and that,
right.
And when this is not a physical, we will be taken care of. So it was almost that. If it wasn't intentional, which I don't think it was, but he's taking advantage of what took place, and it's not coming from a place of truthful. And there's a lie, because in his coming to Warrior Week, there will be exposure, but at the same time, he's scared.
Right.
He's scared of what may happen actually to him.
Sure.
He's scared of there's all these feelings. So it's not one story, but it's multiple lies and stories. And the biggest breakthrough he will have coming at Warrior would have been, well, shit, I guess my back wasn't an issue.
Yeah.
And that is not serving him.
Right.
And that is not going to serve the guys that are coming. So the best thing was, all right, bro, like, we'll put you on 2 months from now. But after this conversation, here's I'm fucking committed to do. I'm going to refund him tonight. I'm going to let him go. And if he comes back by his own, then he was meant to be here. If not, the lies were just too powerful. And I cannot save another man.
Nope.
We cannot mislead another man. This is not about us. This is about a man wanting to come. You choose to come to Warrior Week based on the fact that you saw something that clicked with your desires and what you want.
Yeah.
He's not seeing that right now, and a live event or anything else will not be able to help him out, because when you came in here, you downloaded your gift from God on the second day.
Yes.
He's not open enough to come in and do that, and he actually may block other guys from receiving their gift. So he won't be able to listen to this podcast now, but if he listens to this podcast, and if he's a graduate of Warrior Week, well, he was able to break through his own story on his own. His money's refunded. He was able to figure this out during this period, come back, and it was accepted again because he come back and he played all in. And if he's listening to it at home, then you should be asking yourself, God damn it, what if? What if I would stop fucking lying? So what are you hearing in this, man?
I'd like to speak to the man. I don't know this man, and I do know what I experienced. And the lead up to Warrior Week and my anticipation of Warrior Week was the most anxiety and stress and fear that I have experienced to date. And I've been through some pretty tough shit.
Yes.
Like, I wrestled for 13 years. It's pretty fucking tough. At the level I wrestled at, I've been through some shit. But here's the thing. I submitted to the process.
Yes.
I trusted the process. And there was enough that I saw come through the trainers, from God, from the voice, that I realized that it wasn't me submitting to you. It wasn't even me submitting to Warrior Week. It was actually me submitting to God. Believe it or not, it was me submitting to God in realizing that this was the path I had to follow to receive a gift. And I didn't receive a gift. I received gifts upon gifts upon gifts. Warrior Week was it was the biggest catalyst in my life for transformation that I have ever experienced. And like I said, I'm a spiritual man. I have been through transformational experiences before, nothing like Warrior Week. So if I were to speak to this man, I would say, I get it. I get you. Like if I would have had a car accident, that would have been a pretty fucking good excuse for me to like try to do this. I didn't have that. I did have the fact that I couldn't move 8 days before the event.
Mm-hmm. That is not the case. You can walk. So what I'm hearing is we're going to finish recording this podcast. You and I have a drive to the airport. We're gonna call this man, specifically you're going to call him.
Okay.
And you're going to say, this is Sam. Coach Sam asked me to call you. I have two options for you. Tonight, I have what I'm going to share with you, which is my story.
Yep.
And the second option is you will be refunded. And you're not part of the next Warrior Week automatically, because I did put him in the next Warrior Week automatically. Okay. I'm changing that right now based on what I'm downloading here in this conversation, because it just came to my mind right now, and it just came to my heart right now that, fuck, he had the same fucking backstory than you. Yeah. So if there is any truth inside of that, then he'll make his decision.
Right.
Whatever the decision is, it's best for him and for the man inside of Warrior. Right. So we'll do that, because I think we have the time to do that, and there will be no one better than you to express that. Okay. Let's go and talk about. Let's go and talk about two of the most toughest decisions that you had to make in your life. One of them was you being a pastor, being inside of church for most of your life, 31 years, right?
Yep.
31 years. Something happened at age 31 where you made a big decision.
Yeah.
And talk to us about that and what kind of impact that on you, leading you today here, because the second decision you made was after inside of the pit that night, the first night. So talk to us, man.
So I was raised in a church, Christian church, my whole life. I was very active in the church. My father was a church leader. I was always kind of the good Christian kid. I did all the right things, said all the good things. I was a leader within that. And I even decided at 25 years old to quit my job to do full-time ministry work. And that was very much the voice in my heart speaking to me saying, look, you have two paths you can go in your life. At that time, I was early in my career, but I was already starting to rise through the ranks of the company I was in. And I saw that like there's a window of time here where I can either invest in my life spiritually, or I can continue on the career track that I was on. And I could see what that would look like, but I realized if I didn't invest spiritually in my life at that point, I would be missing out on something. So I quit my job. I did full-time ministry work. I worked with young people. And then I actually started 2 small churches with my wife and a couple other young couples. And in the process of doing that, I was going through seeing that there was something that didn't sit right with me in looking at the fruits of the church and the group and the Christians that I was part of. Something wasn't right about it. It wasn't sitting right. I didn't feel right in my heart when I looked at how judgmental they were. I looked at how much of a superiority complex everyone had, how the group I was part of thought this was the only way. They had found the way to do and be church, and the doctrine that they held on to was the right way, and it was the only way, and everybody else was wrong, and everybody else was off. And I started looking around at the condition and the attitudes and the judgment and the lack of results, really, the lack of fruit that was happening among this group of people, and something wasn't sitting right. But then when I began to investigate, as I started these churches, I realized, okay, I need to figure out like what I believe. And when I began to investigate, I found I found the chink in the armor. I found the verse in the Bible that didn't quite support the rest of the doctrine that I had been taught. And then I found explanations by the leaders that were either outright lies or they were very distorted explanations to try to explain away why this verse that trumped the rest of the doctrine was actually saying something different than it was. And at that point, I realized I cannot continue to buy into or preach or propagate something that has lies in it. I can't do it.
So what you share, it's first of all, it's very personal because being a spiritual man is a very personal journey. But it totally resonates with me growing up in another religion and seeing the same fucking thing, which is a structure that I respect to some extent because it provides guidance.
Right.
But above a certain point, it becomes a manipulation of human thought and usage of the religion, or more importantly, using God for man's interest.
Right.
And you get to a certain age that you actually question this, because truly God himself wants you to question this. And you seek.
Yeah.
And you seek some truth that is not what is fed to you, but what is possibly a truth that you discover. Now, the beauty of all this is that without that foundation, without that structure, you would never even be in a place to question.
True, 100%.
If I would not get my structure and my foundation, but from my religion, and you wouldn't get yours, we wouldn't even be in a place to be able to fucking question that.
Yes.
But at least there is an awakening that takes all of us. It says, hey, bro, wake the fuck up.
That's right. Yeah.
You know, you're not really talking to me, but I can catch you in your dream and I can tell you something, right? Yep. We talked about that. So you just act upon that. And in the midst of all this, you see men trying to do God's work, but they're not coming from a place of truth. They are living lies.
Right.
Men are living lies, trying to do God's work, which in fact could be interpreted in the devil disguised as a man of God.
Absolutely. It's, the problem is with the system. And I'm glad that you said that had both of us not been raised in and instilled with the things that we would never have been in the position to seek, because that is very true in my life. Like, I owe much of the foundation of who I am to the men of God that deposited something into me that was of God.
True.
The problem is those men were operating in a system, and the system is set up by men to propagate the things of man. It's set up by men to serve what men want.
True.
Right? And so that's what corrupts. Like, I owe so much to the men because none of us are pure.
No, absolutely
none of us
not.
are clean.
No.
None of us don't have lies.
That is not true.
Right?
That we are all fucking liars. Today I was a fucking liar. I'm here saying, hey, this show is about all the fucking truth. And inside of all that, I catch myself fucking lying that, hey, I should be passing this fucking test.
Right.
But, like, dude, you didn't even prepare for the fucking test. Stop fucking lying.
We lie all the time.
We do.
But here's the difference. We are willing to expose our own lies. We are willing to not hold on to it and to call a lie a lie.
True.
The system is set up, the system of religion. Let's expand it, right?
Yeah.
You're Muslim, I'm Christian.
Yes.
Right? The system of all religion is set up to make it very difficult for people to truly stand in truth and to truly stand in honesty and to stand and say, look, I'm a fucking man. I'm full of lies, because the leaders are set up to be like God. They're set up to be looked at like God. To
mirroring.
And people want to be led by a man, not by God, because it's easier
to see and
follow a man.
Follow a man. It's much easier than
listening
follow
to the voice in your heart.
And have faith.
That's right.
So now you have a confirmation. You have a man that becomes the object of confirmation of what the divine is. So that's why you say, I'm going to follow the men.
Exactly.
And we make idols out of
those
men.
We make idols.
Just like history, when they had the idols out of the stones, out of whatever they created.
Yep.
It wasn't different. We just turned those idols to men.
Yes.
And inside of that, the actual spiritual guy, the actual guy that is divine, they're out there doing the work in the system.
Yes. Right.
But they're not the majority. The majority of men falls into the system, and in their mind, they actually believe that they're in the right place, but they're living a life of life, and this life of lies, they cannot lead from that place.
No, they're deceived themselves. Coach, I was serving, like doing this work of ministry for 5 years.
Yes.
It wasn't till the moment that I stopped, the moment when we finally said, okay, this is not what God asked us to do. We're stopping, okay? That was 5 years later. It wasn't till that moment where God started to show me who I truly was. Because here's the other problem with the system and the people that are the workers in this system, the people that are the men of God.
Yes.
You think you're okay. I'm serving. I'm helping other people. I'm helping them. I'm giving them what I have of God, right? You start to think of yourself as something that you're not. You start to think you're okay. You start to think you're good. You start to think you're pure. Dude, when that happens, now you not only have the system that is fucking the men, because
you're fucked yourself.
You're fucked yourself. You're self-deceived.
And now you become a lethal weapon of misguidance and misleading, because where you bring people is a place where they feel more and more and more distant from God.
That's right. They feel distant, and they feel like they cannot be what you are. So what you have this phenomenon that happens, right?
Yes.
You have men now that are positioned between other people and God.
Yes.
That is the biggest violation, I believe, that God in the universe that occur is for someone to stand between another person and God himself. That is like the worst possible spiritual thing that could happen.
So true.
And then on top of that, you have men now who are standing in falsehood and lies, and so they look good on the outside, and everybody looks at them and says, oh, I can't be like that.
Sure.
And then you begin to have this kind of worship of this man, this idol forms. And now that man is locked into being that idol.
Yes.
He can't escape that, because now he has to fulfill what the people are looking to him to be, which is God, and he's not God.
The only way for that man to escape is two ways: a miracle by God, or he fucking dies.
That's right.
And this is precisely what the problem is right now in the Muslim community. If you look at the Islam as a religion, that is precisely the fucking problem. Is the idolization of men. Now, you take countries that are controlled by a group of men that are actually now called religious leaders. So they've gone to a point where they've actually included religion into politics. And they call themselves the Republic Islamic of whatever, right?
Okay.
Whatever country you want to fucking call it. At that time, now you're like, okay, here's a religion. I'm going to merge this with politics, because it was always meant to do that. To some extent, you can look at it, you say, yeah, probably 1,300 years ago. But when you look at it right now, it doesn't make fucking sense, because the political system has evolved so much We have modernized our political system.
Right.
Freedom now fucking matters. Freedom, it does not the same fucking conversation that 1,300 years ago. The problems for freedom of 1,300 years ago are not the problems of today. The quality of the problem that men have today are not the same quality of the problem 1,300 years ago. So you can't resolve these problems thinking that way.
Yep.
And now you're saying you're going to enforce these patterns of religious in the political way. So now it becomes like almost a jail. It's a jail. It's a fucking prison. It's a prison. It's a prison to tell a woman to wear a fucking veil. Like, who the fuck are you to even do that? It's a prison to create a country where it's an obligation for you to wear a veil. It's a fucking choice, period. It should be a fucking choice. So men control men's interest that serve the system that ultimately serves them exactly in what you talked about, which is this position that they have. Once they have this position, this significance, they will not let go of that.
Yeah, that's right.
It's either a miracle, and that happened to you. You let go of that position and that sense of significance because there was an awakening in you, so there was a miracle, or until death.
And some death is the man killing himself because he can't handle the hypocrisy anymore.
True.
This is happening to pastors. Pastors are killing themselves because they cannot handle being looked at as God when they know they are not God.
True. And the most important and significant thing that they cannot hide is the following. When you are hiding something and you're actually leading people, you're projecting what you're hiding on these people energetically. You're mirroring that. And whether you're leading them in some areas, in other areas, you're projecting your energy of hiding as if you're inviting them to do the same.
Wow.
And one of the profound experiences that I had, and I shared with you this today early on, it was in 2010 when I had the opportunity to go to Saudi Arabia and for business, and I made it a journey, a spiritual journey for me. I said, I'm going to the Holy Mecca, and I'm gonna go, and I'm gonna make this a spiritual journey for myself. And so I started going, and there was some, certain rules, a tradition that you have to follow. I didn't really follow none of them, except one that was, around approximately 60 kilometers before you get to the Holy Mecca, and you had to go take a shower and just wear a towel. I didn't quite understand what that was, but I became compliant with it because the driver was telling me, listen, bro, if you don't do this, like, you cannot go. So it's just a matter of following the rules. I'm like, okay, I don't get it, but I'll do it because I want to get to that place. I mean, I travel so much to get to this place. And so I go there, and I'm in there in this divine place, in this place where, it's a divine place, man. It's not just for Muslims; it's for the entire world, right? It's the house that Abraham built, and so you're looking at this, and you're like, okay, this is a very divine place. Number one, why is this fucking limited only to Muslims? Why can everybody come and visit this? So now it's run by a fucking country that put rules around it and political rules around it and obligation. If you're not a Muslim, you can't come into this place. My first impression is fuck you to that, right? Because I think differently. Just like you, I respect the man of God that helped me when I was young, but now I am that I am.
Yes.
I am that I am.
Yes.
Period.
Yep.
I am that I am, and there's no man between me and God. So to me, every man deserves to be there if they want to. So now that's the first thing. Second thing, okay, I have to wear this thing. And I'm going around and around, and I look at thousands and thousands of people going in circle, and they're having their divine moment. And it is that point that I realize, it's like, okay, I get the point. The point of this, for them it may be a rule. To me, it's not a rule. To me, this is a revelation that says, you don't need to wear anything special for me. I love you as you are. Beautiful. You were born in this naked, and you are here naked, just wearing this cloth over you. So I don't need you to wear your fucking material for me.
It's fucking beautiful.
That was the first thing. And the second thing is that you are all equal. No one is better than anybody else because you're all wearing the same thing. So that was like, that's the most significant download that I got. And I got what I needed. And I didn't need to do 900, tradition and scriptures. I got what I needed because my heart was pure in that place.
Yeah.
And I'm going around as if God wanted to show me something else. In the house of God itself, in the most sacred place, I would see men judging other men. I was judged myself. I was wearing a necklace and it was gold and it said on it God, right? But it was gold. And I see a man telling me like, no, you can't wear that. So I'm not understanding what the fuck this guy is talking about. So, I give him the fucking head, the kind of like in the club, yo, what's up? It's not really the place to do that. But hey, and he does it again. So I alpha up and like, shut the fuck up in a way, right? In my head. Yeah. And I move around. And later on, I asked the driver, and said, I don't know, man, this guy kind of fucking attacked me out of nowhere with like fucking his finger and this and all, I almost had a fight in a divine place. Yeah. He goes, no, because you're not supposed to wear gold as a man. I said, says who? Says who? And even if I did, I did it fucking innocently. I didn't even fucking know.
Right.
I'm not to be fucking corrected in the presence of God. Who the fuck is he to correct me? So that opened another thing for me is that men are constantly trying to chop another man's head so they can feel taller. And that's all he was doing. He thought he was more divine by telling me to take this off. He rather fuck my spiritual experience than like that, he'd rather fuck that instead of like just keeping it in silence and saying, hey man, okay, maybe this is the rule. Maybe the dude forget. This is not the place. This is a time between him and God.
Exactly.
Why am I injecting? So it's like the serpent itself comes out, right?
Yes.
And I've seen this and over when they're actually, I see a couple. I saw it with my own eyes again. I saw a couple like looking at another group of people. There's a group of people going around and they're kind of speaking a little bit louder and they're just a group, right? They're having a group spiritual moment. And that is, that happens, There's nothing wrong with that. And they're kind of like back and forth speaking. I can't understand the fucking language, but the eyes, I can see that they're judging. And they're saying these fucking people don't belong here. They should not be fucking here. And I can sense that, right? So I leave with the lessons that even in the most divine places, men will always judge. Men will always lie. And men can always correct themselves.
Yeah.
Men can always reposition their thoughts, reposition their feelings. Men can always change, transform, but more importantly, men can always find themselves, which is that little baby, that child that came in that was loved before even he was born.
Yeah.
But we forget that, right? Because the chaos of life takes us everywhere. So, man, like what you experience in your journey as a pastor. I wasn't a pastor, but in my own experience in 2010, and this is way before Warrior, right? I was told these things. This is 8 years later that I'm talking about it for the first time. For the first time ever. You were the first person that I talked about this. For the first time ever, I'm talking about this. And it's not to tell a fucking story. It's because it is happening. I didn't even remember these for 8 years, right? Or maybe I did, but I never spoke of it. But these 4 things that were told to me, like what I saw, that was my gift, and that's my guidance. That's affirmation and confirmation that I am in the right place with God.
Yeah, that's beautiful.
And a couple of days ago, I had some guy put a comment on one of my posts, right? And he writes, "Oh, Jesus is the way, brother." And I write down and I say, no, he says, "Jesus is the way. Jesus is the answer, brother." I'm like, and I write down, I said, "Yeah, he's one of the answers, of course." And I said, "But the answer is God." So he likes it, and then he puts a scripture, a beautiful scripture, right, from the Bible. And I read it, and I was touched. It was an amazing script. So I like it, and I said, "This is beautiful scripture, beautiful, beautiful scripture." I love it. I love it. And if you have more, share, because this is beautiful. But here's what I want to tell you. My faith is not weak for you to come in and impose yours on mine. My faith is solid. So next time you come and knock on my door, know that God has been here. And the voice asked me to do that and he and I are in Facebook. We like each other's stuff, and it's pretty cool guy.
Yeah.
But I had to take a position for me, saying, hey, I know where my faith is. My faith doesn't belong in an organized religion group. My faith belongs between me and God. And it's fucking solid. I don't need any other buddy to impose theirs on mine. Mine is solid.
Yeah.
You knock on my door, God has been here, bro.
Yeah.
So good luck in your journey. Good luck in go find someone that doesn't have this, because I have it here. And it truly doesn't matter if you're Muslim, Christian, Jew, whatever background you are. If your faith is solid, then it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. When it's not solid, when you're still lost, when you haven't found the way, you just fall in for anything. Just fall in for anything. And for most of us, blindly, we put the blindfold on and we just follow one path.
Yeah.
Some people switch. Being a Christian didn't work, so I became this guy. I became that guy. I became that guy. And now I've experienced everything. Well, good for you. Where is your connection one-on-one with God, right?
Yeah. As you were talking, I started to have this thought about people who are proselytizers. So the proselytizer is someone who tries to convert someone else to their religion. And I had this thought that those are the people, typically, who don't have the direct experience, connection, and level of faith, because somehow they are trying to convert others so that they themselves can feel validated and can feel stronger in it. Versus, look, when God comes through a person, if you are spiritual in any way, you cannot deny it. You cannot deny it. Okay? Warrior has shattered my frame in many ways. I told you this in the car. Here's why. I cannot deny that I'm a Christian. I cannot deny that I believe in Jesus and all of the things that come with the faith, okay? But what I also cannot deny is that God has come to me through a Muslim man who has directly impacted my life. I cannot deny that, because I know when God comes through another man or woman to me. I know that. I know how to identify that. I know what that feels like. I know what that looks like. I know what the fruits of that are. I know what the fucking results are when God impacts my life. So my frame is shattered, and what my frame is becoming is this. I will receive God through anyone who wants to give God to me. I will receive it. And I will not deny the fruit of what that is. I will not deny what that, even if I don't understand it. Here's the problem. Anybody that's certain about what they believe, they are the most fucking deluded people on the planet.
True.
If you really, really come in contact with the divine, the certainty goes away. Like, dude,
it's out of your head.
I cannot explain. I cannot explain. What I can do is I can look at fruit. I can experience fruit. I can experience results. And when I experience something divine, whether I can explain it or not, I have to acknowledge it.
That's true.
I have to say, this is what happened. This is true. So the fact that there's a Christian, okay, so you don't know this. My father is Jewish.
Okay.
My father was raised as a Jew.
Okay.
Who converted to become a Christian.
Christian, okay.
So I am half Jewish by blood, Christian, sitting here with a Muslim man.
Yes.
And yet something divine is happening between us.
Yes.
How do you fucking explain that? You don't explain that. But what you do is you say, this is real.
It's true.
You acknowledge the presence of God. You honor the presence of God. You honor the fruit of what happens when that kind of divine energy flows among human beings.
And in the midst of all this, what you don't do is that you never idolize, because not once you said that it was Sam, it was, hey, it came through you.
That's right.
And I got it. And so we are all, when we are divine and when we are spiritual, right? And when we are open,
right.
the minute we are open, the voice will use us.
Yeah.
God will use us as a vessel, as an instrument.
Yes.
All of us, the majority of us we have our eyes closed, and we want to cross hell to get to heaven with our eyes closed. And in the midst of it, we fucking burn because we refuse to open our eyes and see, oh shit, there's fire here. I should probably get the fuck out of there. And inside of that, this journey of a man to become divine is nothing but, can I receive the message of God, and can I be open enough? In what you're telling me right now, I shared with you the story of the 3 Mormon families that knocked on my door, and I welcomed them 3 different times in 9 months, 3 different families. Now I know why I welcomed them. Like, I welcomed them like no other person would welcome them. They came to my house. My entire family was sitting. I allowed them to talk. I allowed them to share, and I received, and I thanked them. It wasn't because my faith was weak that I blocked them or that I received them, that I was looking for some fucking savior or some other way. It's exactly what you said right now. Whenever God wants to speak to me, I am to fucking listen. So if these people came to my house, God sent them to my house, not some marketing agency. And there was a message inside of that. And I received it. Now I get it. Like, before this conversation, I thought it was me. I thought it was like, hey, Sam, dude, this 3 family came to my house, and I'm so open. I'm so open to receive other religions, and like, dude, I'm not a closed person. So I was getting the credit to me. Now the credit is not to me. Now credit is like you said, whenever there is a message of God, then I will receive it. And those were simply messengers with a different language, with a different book. But it was not an attack on my family. It was not an attack on what I believe. They never attacked. They didn't. They just carried a message. And my house was open to receive that. My heart was open to receive that. That's why God sent them.
That's right.
So it makes a lot of fucking sense now. Because it's reframing the hero, versus, hey, man, I have nothing and everything is given to me.
That's right. That's beautiful. It's so true. And I think the only difference then is about whether we're open or not. Are we open? Are we willing? Are we willing to listen? Are we willing to hear? Are we willing to receive the message? Or do we have such a strong story in our mind that actually blocks us from receiving?
So that was the first big decisions that you made, right? On your own, you pursue what you believe in your heart, and you go build. And it was a decade of building, and it was a decade of building and helping, and continue being a spiritual man. You don't give up on God.
Nope.
You just give up on the system that was no longer serving you.
That's right.
You come to Warrior Week, first night in the pit, and you go through this darkness, this place, and the self-realization of like where you are. But then you made another decision that night. What was that? After seeing your pit.
After seeing my pit, my pit was all about my wife, and without describing in detail, because I don't know if I have her permission to do that. I saw my wife, and I saw clearly what I had done to her. Like you have these moments of clarity. Most of the time I was blind. Most of the time I was oblivious. I just didn't realize. I didn't realize what I had done. I didn't realize how damaging I was. I didn't realize how strong and powerful the negativity and the darkness that was coming through me to her. So what I saw, actually, you know, most of us are afraid to go to that pit. We don't want to go there. It's fucking scary. It's really dark and scary. But what happened when I went into the pit was that I got clarity. Seeing what I had done so clearly also caused me to see what I needed to do so clearly. Like, that just came to me. Seeing what I had done so clearly in the pit caused me to see what I needed to do going forward. And what I needed to do was to repair. Mm-hmm. What I needed to do was to heal the relationship with my wife with love, with care, with everything I had. Like everything that I had invested in so many other areas of my life, mm-hmm. I needed to now bring that level of intensity and of investment and of commitment to my wife and to our marriage.
That is beautiful. And that is exactly what took place. Yeah. And that is exactly what you've done every single day. And what you do every single day is to continue to heal and continue to invest and continue to just, like, you healed and now you're investing and you're growing and you're building a life with your wife right now versus living a life with her. Yeah. Because that's what the past was. It was just living with each other. Right. Now you're building. And that was a second shift. Literally second shift, like all this stuff that we talked about God and we talked about Warrior Week and we talked about, like everything was to bring you to this point, which is you become the servant and the leader at home for your wife and your kids.
So true.
And that's all the message of God is like, bro, like I give you this beautiful gift, this woman, and I give you these kids, lead them.
Yeah.
You don't need to go to Africa and start leading people in Africa because they don't believe in me. Mm-hmm. Lead your family.
Yes.
Lead your family at home.
Yes. That is so true, Coach. I firmly believe that the leadership, I'll just speak for myself. I firmly believe that I could never do the work of God if I can't do the work of God within my family. How can I truly bring God to the world if I can't bring God into my own marriage and into my own family? And Coach, I had never been able to truly do that. So I thought I was doing it, but I had never done it.
And today you're doing that.
Today I'm doing it.
And you give me an example this morning about your son, how you're teaching him. Why don't you share it here?
Yeah.
Because that's the fruit of what you just described.
That's right.
That how you're teaching your son nowadays about spirituality, right?
Yeah,
so
that's right.
He reads the script.
Yep. Yeah. So he has one of the things I instituted after Warrior Week, it was one of my commitments, was to create a family church.
Okay.
Right? And we don't go to a church, but I realized I'm not doing my job as a spiritual leader in my family if I'm not guiding my family spiritually, particularly my kids, right?
Yes.
He's 10 years old now. So what I realized, though, is most of what happened through my upbringing that was not healthy was a lot of indoctrination.
Sure.
It was a lot of taking divine things and giving all the answers around them. And I had to do a lot of undoing of all that shit that got put in my head so I could start to hear the voice in my heart again. Mm-hmm. So what I determined with my son is I'm not going to do this. I'm not going to indoctrinate him, but I am going to introduce him to the Bible and let him start to get his own revelations.
Beautiful.
So we began doing that. And like the things that he is seeing and hearing from the voice at 10 years old blows my fucking mind.
That's crazy.
It's beautiful.
The lesson here is the following. And you said it. I didn't say it. I'm just going to repeat it because it's a fucking bomb you just dropped. You have no idea what fucking bomb you dropped. And here's the bomb. You have no business to be in any fucking church with your family if you don't have a family church first. Because what you're doing as a man and as a leader is that you're delegating your leadership in the hand of someone else. If you have your own family church, then you take that family church and you go to church. You take your unit and you go to church. You go with your unit. You go there with your unit. You don't bring your unit there so they can follow another leader. You're the leader of the house. It is your job to teach them about the Bible, the Quran, the Torah, whatever. It is your job to create the church at home. It is your duty as a man. You want to know what being a man is? Being a man is a guy that actually creates a church at home. Because it's not simply being, but you are creating a way for your family. And a way that is led by you and your experiences. Why would you delegate that to somebody else if you haven't built it?
So true.
And you bring them to the church if they're not at home. If you don't church them at home and if you bring them to a church, then
Someone
it is out of your control.
Exactly.
So it is so important to show up spiritually at home. And it doesn't mean that you have to be this crazy, religious guy that you don't need to have a study. It's just lessons, father to son.
That's right.
And it's just conversations with God and simple stuff that you're doing. This morning I had a brief conversation with my son, and it was a divine conversation. It was something that was dropped inside of a conversation yesterday. One of the brothers, Sean Ellis, came down, and he's going to make a t-shirt out of this quote for me. He said, I'm not doing the work to be elite. I'm doing the work because I am elite. I'm like, okay, shit. That's some bombs. So I'm going to use that. I'm going to teach that to my son. So this morning in the car, I'm telling my son, hey, what do students do? Why do students go to school? He's like, to learn and listen and become smarter. Okay, if you learn and listen and become smarter, what kind of student you are? He goes, you're a good student. I say, okay, I want you to consider the following, that you're not going to school to become a good student, that you're already a good student, and that's why you go to school. Bang. Repeated another time, reframed it. Dude, the kid left the car with a frame of fucking confidence.
Yes.
Most of his life, people are telling him, you got to do this to be a good student.
Yes.
Now you are a good student because you're going to school.
Yeah.
And that reframe changes the confidence level and how he's going to lead himself at school.
Yes.
So
beautiful.
These conversations need to take place. If you're driving your son to school in the morning, take the time to teach him something. Don't be on your phone. Don't listen to the fucking radio. Don't allow it to be a silence drive. It's you have an opportunity. You have a window every morning with your children in that car to teach them.
Yes.
And it's on you if you don't teach them anything that day.
Yep.
Not on them. Not on them. You can't blame them like 14 because, they found themselves in a crack house, or they found themselves this kind of party, like having sex with multiple. You can't blame them because you missed all the fucking windows to tell them what life is all about.
Yeah.
And then like a motherfucker, you're going to expect them to not experience.
Yep.
They will experience, fine. But if you've done your duty as a dad to provide them the guidance, perhaps they will experience on the right path.
Yeah.
Whatever that path is. I'm not defining that path. But the right path is a path of that kid is pain-free.
Yeah.
Because if a kid finds himself somewhere, it's because he's looking for significance. Drug significance, gang significance, sexual encounters significance. There's a lack of significance. And all you got to do is inject that significance and confidence in them every single fucking day. And stop robbing it away because the church leader said that.
Right.
Stop robbing it away because the principal said that. The teacher said that. Believe your kids first. But you'll be only able to do that if you're actually telling the truth. If you come from a place of lies, and if you're lying to your family and your kids, of course you're going to project lies to them, and they're going to fucking lie to you too.
Yeah.
So we had a very, very divine conversation tonight.
Yes.
But we also had a very tactical conversation. That here's what I'm doing tactically.
Yep.
Here's what I'm doing with my son tactically. Here's what I'm doing with my wife tactically. Here's what I do as a man of God tactically today. Right? conversation is, this is warrior. We are alphas. We are powerful men. But we are willing to tell the story as is. We don't have any shame to have tears in our eyes. We don't carry guilt and shame because we tell it as is. We don't fucking hide a grapefruit. We don't hide a grapefruit. What I mean by that is, imagine you walking around with a fucking grapefruit all day, and your job is to fucking hide that. Sure,
right.
You're going to hide it, but your energy is consumed all day to hide this grapefruit.
Yeah.
Until you find yourself in the fucking shower, and you have nothing to hide it with. And now you have to hide the fucking grapefruit, and the only place you can put that is up your fucking ass. And you put it up your fucking ass, and now you have a fucking asshole that is big like that, and it's bleeding, and you're in goddamn fucking pain.
Yep.
And all you had to do is take the fucking goddamn grapefruit and just throw it away.
Yep.
But we carry guilt and shame most of our lives.
Yep.
And so we do that in a way that you defined last week as, you know, as one of the trainers that came here co-training us, co-training the guys coming into Warrior Week. There was an evolution. I'm not going to name the evolution. But you made it very clear that what kind of man you are. And that you made, in the midst of being a man of God, in the midst of being a man of family, don't make a fucking mistake. Yeah. I am a violent man. Yes. But then you made a very clear distinction of where that violence is. I want you to share that with millions of fucking viewers and listeners, because that was a powerful revelation that came through you.
Okay. Coach, this is what I said. There's a verse in the Bible that says, the kingdom of God is taken by violence, and violent men seize it. And I have realized that not only am I a violent man, because I am a fucking violent man, I'm violent in a positive way. I've never been violent to go out and beat people up or get in bar fights, but I'm a violent fucking man. But my violence needs to be brought to bear on the right things. It needs to be brought to bear on the right things. It needs to be brought to bear on killing my fucking stories. It needs to be brought to bear on ridding myself of guilt and shame. It needs to be brought to bear on getting rid of the fucking lies in my life. And it needs to be brought to bear to myself in my commitment to myself and to my family, first and foremost. Violent every fucking day to fight. What am I fighting for? I am fighting for my marriage. I am fighting for my son, my 10-year-old son, the most beautiful boy on the fucking planet, who is not going to grow up to be who he is created to be if his father doesn't fucking fight for him every day. Fighting for my daughter. This is what I'm fighting for. Eventually, my violence is going to be brought to bring the kingdom of God beyond my family. But if I can't fight for myself and my family first with violence and commitment, who am I to bring anything to the world?
Beautiful. And to fight, you're going to need violence, or else you have already lost the fucking fight. This is not a fight that you're going to win if you don't bring the violent man inside of you to fight for what matters the most, your family, your kids, and what you stand for, not what you're fucking defending. The minute you're defending something is not the truth, because the truth by itself doesn't require any goddamn fucking man to defend it. You stand by the truth. The minute you find yourself defending something, ask yourself, that is possibly a fucking lie in your life. You stand by your family. You stand by your kids. You stand by God. You stand by yourself. Don't defend anything. This was an incredible show.
Thank you.
We went longer than any other fucking show in the history of Warrior Week, and this is kind of out of our control. We are fucking no one here. We are simply vessels and instruments, and whatever conversations taking place, it didn't came from my fucking head. It came through my stories and your stories blended in, and there was a message that we carried, both as shepherd and messengers. And if you're the guy that resonated with this message, and this is a calling inside of your heart to go and seek and discover more, there are places you could do this and begin your journey. You can first begin by listening to more of these podcasts to see if this is really truly the path you're seeking. www.warriorweeknow.com. There's pictures, audios, videos, and other details about other episodes that you'll find in there. Second place you can find more significance inside of this is called warriorweek.com. It's the spiritual event that you'll come and you'll actually experiment with some of the stuff that Sam and I were talking about. There's a third place as well, and that place is called warriorbook.com, and warriorbook.com is a place for you to start reading the book and start getting connected to the community and see if there is a way for you to find more truth. However, in the midst of all this, if this message has resonated with you, there's one fucking thing that you need to do, and that is simply forward it to another man, because he may also benefit from this. Thanks for being for us. This was an incredible show. Thanks, Sam. Thanks for being here.
Thank you for having me,
Appreciate
Coach.
it.